Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Getting Dirty Off-Road channel. Got Princess, the Platinum. I call it the Stroker. The Wife Struck is what it is. Let's be honest. Just doing a regular old service. I wasn't even going to do a video, so this will be short. Just basic. Change the oil, the filters. Went ahead, it gave us a death wobble a few times, you know, at 40,000 miles. Why don't we just shake the front end out from underneath the truck? Engineering. I don't know. Don't really know what it is. Ford won't honor it because they don't really know what it is. So I decided I'd start with all the shocks. Move on from there if it continues. I've seen some stuff where you need to go into some heavy duty bars and joints. I don't know. I'm trying to keep it simple because I'm stupid, but you know, I'll end up spending more money on everything else because that's what I do. Anywho, giving her a wheel upgrade, tire swap, and that's about it, really. So I'll point out a couple of things that I've noticed. You know, a first-time owner on the old 6.7 Powerstroker. There's some things I prefer over my Cummins. There's some things I wonder, what were you thinking? But maybe I can help you out, just give you some pointers if you're a first-time owner, service it yourself kind of person. I'll take you through a couple of these things that I've learned. And some of it was the hard way. But I'll help you out. So let's just have a quick short video here. A couple of pointers, tips, tricks, and then move on. Okay, right up here is where your stabilizer shock goes. Which I thought maybe that was letting the tires flop back and forth. It's probably not. Took the original off and it seems to have good pressure while I'm grunting on pushing it back and forth. Now this is the original. So it's got that tapered design, but it's kind of part of the shock, the whole mount system. So when you get a new one, they give you this tapered piece that goes into the bar and then a stud on the other end to mount your new shock to. But in order to get this old one out, trust me, I put the beating on it with the old smashers, but well, I decided there was something else. So I did a quick little video search and well, you pretty much need this guy right here. Oh, that's pretty bright. There. Pitman arm puller. That's the one you're going to have. So it will go around this up here, okay? Right there. So it'll go around this bar here. Now, when you're doing it, as you tighten up your stud onto this factory stud, you need to make sure that your jaws are on there as best as you can on both sides. Now, being at this angle, it's going to try to come down on you, but just be careful as you tighten your stud in your puller up to your stud on your post here, whatever. Make sure that your jaws are clamping good around each side. And you're going to have to put some, well, you're going to have to put a little bit of man on it, you know, just a touch over little girl strength, but you're going to have to put something on it there. And then it's going to pop and, well, you probably have to check your panties when you're done. But it's going to blow it out of there with some force and then you'll be able to change it. On this other end, you just use the same old bolt that was in the original and just bolt it right back into place. So that's what I've done as far as this steering system goes. Like I say, I may have to do more. I don't know yet I'm gonna try this out and see what happens. And since I decided to do the stabilizer shock, I thought and looked and decided, let's just do all the shocks. So this is the last one I got to do right here on the back, and it's not as convenient as the other side on the back here. This is the driver's side, and well, the spare tire is kind of in the way. I don't really feel like dropping it, so I'll just struggle. But up here on the top, you got a nut. 18 millimeters is what you're gonna need. But this is kind of nice because they're just a post. The shock slides onto with a nut on the end, so it's not too horrible unless you don't have room. Which I'm supposing impact and a socket you could get up in there. But I like to do things the hard way, as you know. Just a simple end wrench. And of course, you know, my light up there is magnetic. Well, I had to stick it to the hitch plate because Aluma duty. Now I've noticed with this truck, if you guys like to get off the road out there and play, I would advise you be real careful with these Aluma duties. And I say that because there's a lot of things like these lines right here, things up in the front. There's a lot of things. You start driving through the sagebrush patches and whatnots, you're gonna catch on to some things and cost you a whole lot more money than you're gonna have fun for the 5 or 10 minutes you're out there beating the brush up. So when you start pulling things out of these trucks, they get real expensive. Now I've got some others to go play in if I ever made the time. It's not I didn't have it or couldn't find it, it's making it. So this is the wifey's Pavement Princess. But, you know, after rolling around under it a couple of times and looking at things, it's probably best it doesn't get off the road too awfully deep in anything that might catch on to something and cost me a lot more money. But anyways, so I got the nut off from that guy up there. Now the top of the shock just slides right off that post pretty easy. And then down here on the bottom, you've got 21 millimeter on your nut there, 18 on the bolt. So I've been cracking the nut loose, and then the bolt starts to spin after you get it loose, so then it's not too bad really. And there you have it. Now up here on the front shocks, you can see it's just got a stud that goes up through that top for the mounting point. Now the ones I took off, I assume came with the truck original, even though they were Ranchitos. They did not have a space on the top of the stud to put a little wrench to hold the shaft from spinning. So I actually had to come right down in here. It was exposed where the top of that old shock was. Clamp some vice grips around that piece there, and then I was able to get the nut off, but it was tough all the way off from there, so that was the only way that I could figure up to do it. This one, I could put a little wrench on the top of there and hold it so I could get it good and tight. The bottom just got a bolt. Well, now let's see. Oh yeah, you can see. You can see. Got a bolt there with a flag nut. They weren't hard to do, so was able to get them done pretty good. Let's see, I threw them over here because I never get rid of nothing. But yeah, right there. It's too thin to get a wrench on there, or at least my wrenches. So I just clamped around the bottom of that nut with my vice grips, and then I was able to get it. So like I said, they front ones weren't too awfully bad to do. It just took a little extra time. Tight space in there to get that top nut, but wasn't bad. So I guess I'll go ahead and finish up that back one. You probably don't need to watch every step of the way, so I'll get that done. Alrighty, so for this truck, it already had the Ranchos on it, so I decided to just go ahead with the Ranchitos again. They weren't all that expensive, and they were in the click down on the search tab, and they were easy to do. So that's how that happened. So these are, I don't know, I think an upgrade from what was on it. They have a lot bigger body on them. They still fit in the truck properly. Everything fits smoothly. They've got an adjustment here. So right now it's already set at 5, I'm assuming. There's kind of an arrow right there and center. So 5, they go up to 9. You dial it back to the left, you make them soft. You go to the right, you make them hard, and that's just the stiffness in the gas inside that, as it's compressing and doing its job, basically how quickly that gas is catching that piston inside from floating up and down. Now they don't come with the plastic straps anymore, so to extend them, you got to turn them to unlock them. So you just give them a turn and they come out and do their thing. They don't have the steel shield over the shaft anymore either. They've all got these boots. So what I've been doing is, outside the truck where I can see, it's getting the boot on. Especially these, the front ones were quite a bit easier because they're just a solid threaded shaft. These ones have, you know, the whatever end to put the onto the stud. So you got to kind of entice it to crawl over this portion of it right here. I guess I'm up here where you guys can't see, but then the inside of it has a groove in there which should have this inside of it. So that's a big reason why I'm doing it out here where I can see what to do, especially on these back ones. But you just kind of coax it into position and there you have it. Then when I put it in the truck and push it back down, you know, compress it in, I'll get this into the boot back over the shaft, the body here, and then throw my zip tie on there to hold it in place. So I chose to set my shocks right now just to see how they are. You know, we can adjust them. I got the front one set at 4 and the back one set at 5. I'll ride around a little bit and see how they feel. But as far as this wheel tire swapping, all I got to do is tighten these ones up. Or in my case, over tighten these ones. Alrighty. Good and tight. Now take your key and stick it in the pocket of your door. Oh, yep, you're here to help, huh? Pocket of your door so you know where it is. Okay, now, if you're gonna do the fuel filters, they come in a 2-filter package, and they're not cheap. Like me, the first time I rolled around underneath of this thing a couple of times trying to figure out where this one went. I kind of figured out where the one under the engine, or in the engine bay under the hood, went. But down here you've got your fuel tank that way, and then you got this funny unplugged in right in front of the fuel tank that goes upward, and that's where your square-ish filter goes. It stands up inside of there. So to do this job, you'll need to unplug. You guys paying attention? You're looking down on me, aren't you? You're trying to act like me. So you'll unplug this guy right here, which I assume is a water in the fuel sensor warning device that goes in there on the dash. You'll have to unplug that. Then you got these bolts. What are those? 7 or 8 on the millimeters. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on that corner. Before you do that though, you've got this little drain valve right here, and it would be ideal to just go ahead and open that and get diesel all over yourself, but you want to drain that out first, so when you do pop this bottom part of it off, it'll come down for you and you're not taking a full bath. So I'm gonna let that drain out of there for a few, and then we'll carry on. Okay, so I got this unplugged. If you're gentle with that little push clip, it doesn't take a whole lot to unclip it, and it comes right out of there. Now I've finally drained out well over $5 worth of diesel. Had to dump my pan once. For some reason it seemed like there was more this time, but maybe not. These little bolts are indeed of the 8mm variety. I usually leave this one in the center for last. Then I can just spin her down and get it to drop out of there. Then you gotta kind of wiggle your little splash guard hootis thingamajigger so that you can get it down here, and there's your filter. You can see I still have a bunch in there for some weird reason, but yeah, that's where this guy goes. So it does kind of push down into this cap. You do get no O-ring for this surface. I would recommend you change it. Snap your new one into it and just jam her right back up there where it came from. Alrighty, I brought you over here on the demo car workbench because I wanted to show you one more thing with this square filter that goes down below. One more thing than the fact it comes wrapped in plastic. I mean, that should be easy enough. The point I want to make is these ears right here. Also, if we turn it where we can read it, removal that way, install that way. And so what it's saying is, line up your drain there with your tube on the side there. So to put it in, just watch your ears inside of there. Drop it down kind of behind that tube, and then you just move it to the side and it's hooked inside there. Take it out, you just move it back, and basically you're just latching, unlatching these ears inside of these loops right there. So then this fuel tube that we just drained through, that's what actually carries your fuel up towards your engine, okay? So it's, if you don't realize it, like my first go around, it took me a minute to get it figured out, but they're pretty simple. They just hook in and out. Pretty simple. So right now, I'm gonna take this O-ring. All of these kits come with a new one. I would say you should probably definitely change them. I guess if you don't want to and you want to hang on to the new one till later, that's up to you. But I think what I'm going to do is throw my new O-ring gasket piece on there, clip my filter in, and screw it back up in the bottom, plug it in, make sure my drain's closed. So that's back up in there now. I would say it's important to make sure that your drain is closed. And we'll plug it back in for our water in the fuel sensor. And this down here should be done. Now, when we hit the button inside to get a prime going, we will check it, make sure we don't have any leaks. And this second filter is right here. I've already swapped it out. I probably maybe should have had you watch. I don't know. But all of these clips are pretty easy to manage. None of them come all the way out of the connector. You just release them, open them. You might have to push in on your line a little bit and then pull it off. But then this whole filter housing turns, I don't know, 1/8 of a turn. And then it comes out of there. So when you set your new one in, you just make sure you turn back a little bit, set it down in there and turn it back. Watch out for the edge of this thing because it'll cut you. It's pretty sharp right there for some reason. But so right now I'm just connecting the fuel lines back up and be finished up with this thing. Alrighty, so got all of that reconnected. Everything's put back together. So on these filters, there's only one way to prime them, and that is right in here on the start button. So as long as you're not using the old key fob and you're not pushing the brake pedal, all you're gonna get is power. It's not gonna try to start. So we'll just hit this. And down here you can hear the pump running and squeezing and pushing air. And I just go until it stops. I've already done that 5 or 6 times, so should be just about ready for a startup. And so I think maybe that's what we'll do. I don't see any leaks anywhere. I always check my fittings here, check that O-ring underneath on that funny old square filter. Make sure I'm not leaking, and then I give her a run. Gotta put my hitch back in, you know. Doesn't fit. Well, where I had it sitting didn't fit with the hitch in. Well, that's it for this video on the tips and tricks for your stroker service, filters, whatnot, those things. Got it out of the way. We've got other things to do, but if we're being honest, the wifey's been all over me about getting her truck done. Can't sit in the shop for a week. It's got pavement to pound on. So she's back in business until the next oil change. So glad you guys checked it out. I don't know if any of it was helpful, but appreciate you watching. So we'll catch you next time.